Greetings and welcome to Let's Talk About Books, baby, where we talk with your favorite LGBTQ authors. I'm Anita Kelly, and my guest today is Kelly Farmer. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Anita.
How's it going?
It's going awesome. I'm very excited to be back on the podcast.
Oh, I'm so excited that you're back with us, and I have been dying to talk about this book of yours. I've been waiting for it, so I'm so glad that we're here.
Me too.
Yeah, because when we last spoke, you were anticipating the release of It's a Fabulous Life, right?
Yeah, it's a Fabulous Life. That's the book that's coming out in October. We're recording this ahead of release, so it's probably released by now on October 17th.
October 17th is the release date. So can you tell us about this novel?
I would love to.
Awesome.
So It's a Fabulous Life is a sweet, sapphic, It's a Wonderful Life retelling. So in this version, we have Bailey George, wink, wink, who is a small town. Yeah, I know, right? Like, it's so obvious.
I love it.
I had to go there, you know.
Yes.
If you're going to do an It's a Wonderful Life retelling, and, you know, the lead is a female, her name is Bailey George.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So she's a small town realtor who's stuck taking care of the, you know, Winter Wonderfest festival again. And it's also a second chance romance. So her high school crush, Maria Hatcher, comes back to town to be the director of the library. And of course, sparks fly. But then, since it's an It's a Wonderful Life retelling, you know, one disaster after another snowballs on the day of the festival. And, you know, Bailey drives off in a huff. And of course, she meets fabulous drag queen Clara Angel. And, right. Because again, if you're doing an It's a Wonderful Life retelling, it needs drag queens.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And I love the name Clara.
Well, Clara is a wink and nod to Clarence.
Yes.
So, you know, Clara, of course, is blessed with a little magic. So when Bailey declares that she wishes she'd never been born in this Christmas-obsessed small town, Clara shows her what Lanford Falls would be like if she had never been born there.
Oh,
and wackiness ensues.
That is so cool. Lanford Falls, just like Bedford Falls, right? Wasn't that the name of it, Bedford?
So it's Bedford Falls, yeah.
So for those folks who, you know, I don't know how, but I'm sure there are people who are not familiar with It's a Wonderful Life. That is a movie with Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed that was done back in the it just had
1946
was
when the movie came out.
I think it had its 75th anniversary recently.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's actually, I was talking about I talk about the book in my acknowledgments, and I had to do the math, and I had that, like, this movie is over 75 years old. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
I saw, I think when it was, I'm not good at math. So whenever
the writers were not good at math,
whenever that was, I saw it in the theater, which was just so much fun, to see, you know,
that's nice.
Yeah. To see it on the big screen. But, so in the movie, It's a Wonderful Life, there is a guy named George Bailey, right? And that is, your main character is Bailey George.
Yes.
So, you know, there's a little twist on that. And then in the movie, there's an angel called Clarence. And so you have Clara, the angel drag queen, right?
Yes.
It's a little
she's Clara Angel of the House of Angel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. And there are two other queens. There's her drag mother and her drag sister, Giovanna.
Okay.
So they pop in and out of the book.
All right. So, It's a Wonderful Life took place back in, I don't know, the 40s, I guess. And no, it was actually the 30s, because it was the run on it was when the stock market fell, right?
Yeah, the movie itself covers a lot of years, because it kind of tells George Bailey's story from childhood. So it does kind of hit like the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Okay. And is It's a Fabulous Life, what is the time period for that?
It's a contemporary romance.
Okay.
Clearly, if there's, drag queen angels in it. It's not set in the 1940s.
I think there were probably drag queens in the 40s,
And there absolutely were. They definitely were not doing super public performances or, going about town, being fabulous. It was something that was definitely kept much quieter.
True story.
Back in the day.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's a contemporary novel. And what significance, if any, does that movie It's a Wonderful Life hold for you, that you decided to kind of do this little twist on that story?
So I was, when I was a kid, that movie was sometimes on TV, and I always thought it, like, how like you don't really ever watch a Christmas movie because it's just like on TV.
In the background, yeah.
Exactly, like you're wrapping presents or decorating the tree. And it was, as a youngster, I just thought it was this hokey old movie. It has nothing to do with Christmas. And how you just kind of are like, I don't know what the big deal is about this movie. And then in high school, I actually sat down and like watched it.
Oh.
And there's a line in the movie that it's like, it was a defining moment for me, honestly. The first time I heard it, it's when they're, when Clarence, the angel, is showing George Bailey what life was like if he'd never been born. Mm-hmm. He says to him, "Strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many other lives. And when he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he?" And that like kind of smacked me upside my head. And it's just such it's like a simple but powerful line about how everybody's life matters. And we all, whether we know it or not, we touch people's lives. And I just love the idea of that impact we all make in big and small ways. And so honestly, that's kind of like why that movie has always just stuck with me. And, don't want to get too deep, but like, it's honestly that kind of has kept me going sometimes. It's just that idea of you do more good than you realize, and you bring more joy to people's lives than you could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. So, I've always sort of, the movie has a special place in my heart because of that. And I love that idea of getting to see what the world would look like without you in it. Mm-hmm. And I know the movie's been spoofed countless times because, it's so ripe. It's kind of like A Christmas Carol. Like the story itself is just so ripe with possibility. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, Beavis and Butthead spoofed It's a Wonderful Life. Basically they did. And it's one of my favorite retellings.
I will look for that.
It's called, they called it It's a Miserable Life. And it's Beavis and Butthead.
Of course they did. Yeah.
But like I had to put a nod to it like in the book. So in my book, spoiler, Bailey meets Clara Angel on this like the old wooden bridge in town. Uh-huh. And that's what they did in the Beavis and Butthead version. And I was like, I have to honor this because I love this version so much.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's so cool. You mentioned A Christmas Carol has been done over and over. My favorite version of that is Mr. Magoo.
Oh my God, yes! Whoa, that's a throwback.
Yes, that is my absolute favorite version of that. It's awesome. So
I have been in the play A Christmas Carol twice.
really,
So I can basically recite like large chunks of A Christmas Carol.
oh yeah.
Like any version on TV, I'll just like start riffing with it and be like, "Ooh, they changed that line."
What did you play? Who did you play?
I played Mrs. Cratchit both times.
Oh wow.
And I also like did other roles, like, in one version, actually, I think in both versions, it was like, and I also played Mrs. Dilber, and I was also like spirit number 5. And
oh yeah, yep. I know those, like you're like all around jack of all trades, right?
yeah, it's like when they do like a small cast, so everyone plays multiple roles.
Yes, yep.
But
Yeah.
some quick changes because those 1840s dresses are kind of big and heavy, and it's like, whoa, you can't do a really big, quick change in those.
No, you can't. I'll bet not. Wow.
Yeah. You figure it out, though.
Yeah. I like that line. It's interesting that you picked up that line really resonated with you, that, each life matters, and, you leave a hole. And that's so true, right? And that's kind of like a contemporary kind of way of thinking right now, with like the Black Lives Matter movement, that each life matters, and without different cultures, it would leave a hole in our society,
Yeah, I mean, just imagine, we have such a big, beautiful, diverse world that, we really do need everybody's contributions.
Yes.
And we need people to stick around. And
can you imagine like a homogeneous like society? Oh,
I mean,
like Stepford Wives, right?
No, thank you.
I know. That would be no fun whatsoever. But
no way.
So It's a Fabulous Life came out on October 17th. And how would people access it? Where would they go? Where would our listeners go to, get this book?
It is available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Woo! Right. The audiobook is narrated by Mia Hutchinson-Shaw and Pete Cross. So be sure to pick that up. I've heard some bits and pieces of it, and it's really cool.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, it's available at all major online I almost said realtors, online retailers.
Uh-huh.
You can also order the paperback and probably the audiobook through your favorite indie bookstore. Okay. So if you've got a favorite, please support them.
Mm-hmm. Always try to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. And who's your publisher for that, in case anybody needs to know that?
Alcove Press is the fabulous publisher for this book.
Alcove.
They actually, this book had a very long and winding road towards publication. Last year at about this time, it was very up and down. I will spare you all the long story. The very short story is that this book was originally supposed to be published by Hallmark Publishing. So while reading it, if you feel like you're reading like a Hallmark movie, that's why.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, they closed their doors. And I got the rights back. So the good news is that Alcove Press said, "Hey, we want to publish it." So it's still coming out exactly when it was supposed to, which is really great.
Yeah, that's amazing. It really
is.
Well, I am sorry to hear about your kind of dilemma with the Hallmark Publishing, and that they, I guess, went out of business. But I'm glad that Alcove picked it up. That's fabulous.
Yes, it is. It's a happy ending.
Yeah. That's great. That is really awesome. So, Kelly, what made you decide to write a kind of holiday romance to begin with? Like, where did that idea come from?
I unashamedly love Christmas movies and the same TV shows that have been on since like 1965.
Okay, like Rudolph.
Like Rudolph and,
Frosty.
Frosty, the Grinch.
Yeah.
The more obscure ones, like The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like Christmas music, I love it. I love it all. And actually, it became sort of like a secondary mission to see how many references to them I could get in this book.
Mm-hmm.
There, at one point, I was like, "Oh, I should count how many," and I was like, "No, there's too many." Oh, there's some really obvious ones, and there's some like really obscure ones, like the Beavis and Butthead Do Christmas. So, I honestly, after living through the world for the past few years, with global pandemics and just the world in general, I wanted to write something happy and light and fun where nothing truly bad happens. Kind of like a Hallmark movie, where like, nothing bad is actually going to happen.
Yep.
And I also wanted to, sort of add to that holiday movie world, a story with queer love and joy. And it's really a celebration of queer community. Yes, it's a small town romance, but it's a very accepting place. Everyone can just kind of come and be who they are. It's one of those towns, like the history of it is like, it was an artists' colony in the 1920s. So it's always kind of been like a hip, accepting place.
Little bohemian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah, I just wanted to bring some holiday joy and.
Yeah. And you're right. The world is full of angst, like so much so, like more so since the pandemic, right? So yeah. So it's nice.
Yeah, I was just thinking this morning, actually, and I don't even know what like terrible thing in the news there was, but I was like, you remember when the lockdown first started and the whole like thing was, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to that? No, we weren't.
Yeah. That kind of died pretty quickly, didn't it?
Yeah. It did.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad that's over with, though. I'm glad we're out and about. But it's still, it changed people. It really did.
Yeah.
Some for the better, some for the worse. Some people were able to reassess their priorities and make changes in their lives, which is awesome. And some people, kind of took advantage of the way things were. And, so, yeah. But
that's why we need happy books.
You're so right. And I love a novel that has low angst. Like, as I said before, life is full of anxiety. So I cannot wait to read this. And I want to know, are there characters in this book that you were particularly drawn to or kind of can relate to a little more closely than others?
Definitely. I think that Bailey George, our point of view character for It's a Fabulous Life, I kind of get where she's coming from for a lot of things. She feels stuck in her life because of choices that she made. And all of them were, she doesn't regret making any of her changes. She gave up the chance to go to college because her father unexpectedly passed away. And so she took over running his real estate agency.
Okay.
And, and like also she kept working so her sister could go to college. And then, when her sister found her passion in her career, she let her do that and continued to run the real estate agency. And basically it's the only thing she's ever done in her adult life. And, so she feels a little stuck in her, she lives in the same small town her whole life, which, it's not full of energy and excitement.
Yeah.
And I kind of get that because I've definitely made some choices in my life that have made me feel very stuck. And and there's a certain degree of like, you don't regret making these choices at all, but also like, how do I get unstuck? And that's sort of the, that can be problematic sometimes. Not problematic in a problematic way, just like, I don't know how to get out of this situation.
Yeah. So, I have to ask you, did you find your own Clara Angel to help you get unstuck?
I mean, if there are any drag queens out there with a little bit of magic who would like to visit me, I will gladly go on that journey. Just, stop on by.
I would venture to guess that most drag queens would say they have a little bit of magic.
They do. One of my favorite lines in the entire book is Clara says, all drag queens are magical, some more than others.
It's true. It's true. Yes. I believe that. I do.
Yes. The book is dedicated to drag performers because they truly are magical.
Oh, that's so nice of you. That's so awesome. And they're getting a bad rap lately, It is so strange. When I wrote this book like 2 years ago, I wrote this book full of, I love the art of drag, and I just wanted to pay homage to it. And so I wrote a couple of things in it. There's, Drag Queen Story Hour. There may be a public performance at some point, not to give a spoiler. And when I wrote this, I had absolutely no idea those would become hot button issues. Yeah. I know.
So it was sort of strangely like foreshadowing. But again, it just goes to show like you can have a small town in the middle of nowhere that's super cool with it. And that's what we all should have. Every town should have that.
I believe we probably do more than we know, more than, the other side is publicized more and gets a lot more attention, that hate side. But I think there's definitely those small towns out there who just embrace everyone,
Yeah. I like to think that that's much more of a reality than we are led to believe.
Yeah, I agree. I do too. Definitely. Yeah. So while you were writing, it's a Fabulous Life, did you have like a favorite playlist? Like, was it Christmas music? Because, a lot of authors, like when they're writing, they'll create a playlist, right? And that is, sometimes there's a very meaningful connection between their playlist and what they're writing. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's just, like something that energizes them. So did you have a playlist?
I usually do for books. It's like specific. It's usually like a musical artist. Like when I wrote the Out on the Ice series, that's my women's hockey romance series. It was Brandi Carlile. And I listened to Brandi. I know, right? Like, oh, that was hard to listen to Brandi for, hours upon hours upon hours. But obviously this was a Christmas book, and I was writing it in, July, September, March. And so to get in the mood, of course, I did listen to Christmas music. But Christmas music gets old very fast.
Yeah. Usually I can handle a few weeks of it.
Yeah. And I mean, as I said earlier, I love Christmas music, but at like December 1st.
Yes.
Like I'm not listening to it in November, unless I'm writing this book. So I had to like change it up and, do like, the classics, like, Gene Autry and, those, and then it'd be like, okay, now I have to switch to like classical music or symphonic or jazzy or like I had to keep changing it.
Yeah.
And, some days I was like, no, I can't do it. No more. But the other, I have some artists I sort of default to if I'm writing like the fight scene or the all is lost, like oh, everything is sad and depressing. And one of those is Glenn Hansard for me.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with that artist.
Yeah. For those listeners, if you've seen the movie Once, he is the guy in Once.
Okay.
And I love Glenn Hansard. He makes some wonderfully depressing, like angsty Irish music. And so that tends to be one of my defaults. And like, especially for this book, when they're doing the like, here's what Lanford Falls looks like without you in it, and everything is terrible. Like, I would pop on some Glenn and be like,
how appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, everything is so sad.
There's nothing like some like Irish drama, right?
Yeah.
No.
We need some angsty music sometimes.
Yes.
Wow. And then it was funny. And then it's like, then you write, I mean, I'd say it's a spoiler, but if you know even a little about It's a Wonderful Life, you know, it's like things go okay. And it's a romance. So, you know, there's a happy ending. But like, then I like switched back to the Christmas music. Like, okay, now things are happy again.
Now I can play Bing Crosby and Perry Como and
yeah.
That's great. So, when you were writing this, like, were you kind of energized by it? Did it kind of exhaust you? And in general, does writing, you know, how does that go for you? Energizing or exhausting?
Overall, it's energizing. Oh. There is no better feeling than getting to create worlds and people and play in this like nice little alternate reality where you can control everything and decide what happens.
Yeah.
Especially this book, I wrote very quickly compared to like, I didn't have a lot of like stops and starts. And I think I just had so much fun with it that it was like, I'm so excited to write this book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Some books are a slog. This one was not a slog.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Really...
Yeah. And I love that feeling when like you're writing, or actually even while you're revising, where like everything clicks.
Yeah.
And you just have that moment of like, oh my God, this works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I call those happy dancing moments because
do you?
I actually happy dance.
All right.
When they happen. I work at a standing desk, so there's a lot of dancing.
Great.
Yeah. Or just moving in general. You know?
Dancing and writing, you know, it's a great combo. I love it.
That's the next big reality show. Dancing while writing.
You heard it here first, folks.
We match famous authors with dance pros.
With a bag over their head.
Right, exactly. It has to be like The Mask.
There you go.
Dancing authors or something. That is the next big show.
I think you have something there. I think you're onto something.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought you might want to put a plug in for your blog also, because I think I received a copy of it today, and it talks about It's a Fabulous Life.
Oh, that's my newsletter.
Oh, your newsletter. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I don't have a blog.
Okay.
But I have a monthly newsletter.
Well, I just gave you one, so.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Yes. So, tell us about your monthly newsletter.
Yeah. If social media is so bananas these days. And like, every time I get something printed, like something happens. So I have to write on like my postcards, like this, like scratch this out, write this in. So a newsletter is a great way for readers to like just stay in the know with what their favorite authors are up to. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of a plug for authors in general. If you like an author, please sign up for their newsletter. It makes us feel really good. And it's like the only thing we can control. So like if, Twitter, you have to start paying to use Twitter, like everyone's gone tomorrow,
Yeah.
But newsletter is forever.
How does someone sign up to receive your newsletter?
I try to make things as easy as possible. Mm-hmm. So if you go to my website, which is kellyfarmerauthor.com, I have a little sign up on the bottom of every single page on the website. So no matter what page you're on, at the bottom, it's like sign up for my newsletter. And if you do so, you will get exclusive access to free bonus stories in my Out on the Ice series. If you are familiar with that one, that's my women's hockey series. And there's a secondary character named Gina Morales, who's my favorite. And I needed to tell her story, but it kind of had to be told outside of the actual books. So I have a couple Gina stories in there.
Nice.
Yeah. And I try to sort of keep in my actual newsletter. I just try to keep you, in the know of what's going on. I talk about publishing stuff sometimes because publishing is very weird and interesting to people who are not on the inside of it.
It's a good peek into that world.
Yeah. And it's just such publishing is weird. And I feel like in my outside writing life, I spend half my time explaining things about publishing to people. So
really?
Yeah. It's, it took even honestly, my parents who they know me very well. They know what's going on. And it took years for my dad to not realize you just type your book, chapter 1 to the end. And then they're you wrote a book, you're done. No. There's nothing more that needs to be done.
No.
And it's no, there's editing, there's this, there's that, there's, and then sometimes he'd be what are you working on? Cause if he knows I haven't been writing, and I'll be well, I drafted my newsletter and made graphics and returned 5 emails and sent 5 emails. And there's so many emails when you're an author.
Yeah.
The stuff no one tells you about being an author. So yeah, he finally understands now, there's so much more to being an author than just chapter 1.
Sitting down and writing, which is what you see, right? When someone is portraying an author, right? That's what you see. You see them sitting down, right? I'm thinking of, I can't think of the movie, but I can't even.
Basically, any movie.
Yeah.
That talks about writing or publishing.
Yeah.
I beg of you. I have mad respect for screenwriters. Mad respect. Please just reach out to an author and learn about publishing. Cause if it's the first draft of the first book they've ever written, it's not going to be in a book ready to be published.
Yeah.
1 month later.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much that goes into it.
I know. There really is. And usually, from start to finish, it can take a couple years, right? For you to start the book, write the book. Then the publishing house does its thing, and that can take, anywhere from 6 months to a year. So you may not see that out on the market for a while.
Yeah, it can sometimes be a very long time, especially if you're traditionally publishing, and especially if you're with a bigger publisher. Books that are sold now won't come out till 2025. There's a very long lead time. That is one of the magic things of indie publishing is you can do whatever you want. So
it's true. That's true.
Yeah, you can put out 4 books this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot more work, but right?
It's, there's no great super, this is the best path. It's actually something I'm very passionate about is there is no one path. Everybody's path is different.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And yeah, some people thrive on that entrepreneurial spirit of indie publishing, and they love the creative control. And, if you're a fast writer, that's absolutely the way to go. Because if you can put 4 books out in a year, I am in awe of you. I'm in awe of those authors.
That's I know an author who does that, and she's amazing. She publishes, with a publishing house, but she just kicks them out.
Yeah, I know those fast writers. I tip my hat to you, fast writers. And then if you choose to go the traditional publishing route, it's you still end up doing a lot of work too. It's not, like with indie, people are like, well, you do everything yourself. And it's like, yeah, but in traditional publishing, you do a lot of the work yourself too. So it just, you get more support.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true. You do. You're still doing a lot of the work, and you're getting support at the same time, which, is helpful.
Yeah. And like I said, I think honestly, most, or I would say more than not, authors I know are hybrid, and they do both traditional and indie publishing. And I kind of feel like that's a sweet spot.
Yeah. You're right. It's
I think too, like some ideas or books that you really want to write or whatever, if like that's just not going to go traditional. Like, it's your bananas book idea and you just want to write it. Like, that's great to just, indie publish those, get them out in the world, save your slightly less bananas ideas for
that
traditional publishing.
Really a good way to go. I had never thought about that, but really, that is. I like that idea because, publishing houses, like they all have like their own thing, right? And they all look for something. And if you don't have their something, it's still, you have something. So, there's a reader for every book too.
It really is. And that's one of the great things about nowadays is there are so many options.
Yeah.
There are avenues in ye olde days, because it took me a very, very long time to sell my first book. So, I mean, I started querying back before indie publishing was a thing. Like, it was not an option. It just there were a lot more publishers. So you had more options to like submit your manuscript to, but like, that was it. Like, that was it. If that book never got picked up, it just lived under your bed.
Yeah. You're right.
So nowadays, if you write something and you want it out there, like, the sky's the limit. Have fun.
Yeah.
But you'll find somewhere to publish it.
Yeah. And that's the same with, I think, any kind of media, like people who are songwriters, or performers, like you can, kind of self-publish and get your work out there, and not have to go with like a recording house or recording studio. It's kind of cool. So.
Yeah, and movies, same thing. Like, if you can't find some producers to attach to a project, or you can't find a distributor, I mean, there are absolutely ways to get your movies seen now, or your movies made.
Yeah, you're right.
People could make a movie on their phone.
Yeah.
That is like crazy.
Yeah, I know. You're right. It really is. It's totally different than how it started. But so are you working on anything right now, Kelly?
I am. I'm currently working on, I'm actually expanding a novella I wrote. I was part of the Happily Ever After Collective, which is still going. Okay. They're in season 2 right now. I'm just not in the season. So, but yeah, it's an author collective, with basically, they put out 4 novellas each month, and each month has, a different trope. So like the month I was in was mistaken identity stories. And my story was called Secret Spark. It's a supervillain story. The basic plot of it is that, it's a sapphic romance. And, so Sadie, who is just a norm, like a normal person, she thinks her hot new neighbor is a superhero. Okay. But she is actually a supervillain.
Oh, dun 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 dun.
And wackiness ensues.
Wow.
So I had so much fun writing it that, like, as I was writing it, I was like, oh, this needs to be a book. Like, this needs to be like a series.
Oh, cool.
So I'm expanding it into a full-length novel, which is very hard to do. I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like, in my head, I don't know if you're this way. Like, when you write something and it's done, like, that's the story.
Yes. Yep.
Like, it's set.
Yes. Yep.
And so now I'm taking this thing that I thought was set and like adding scenes and, expanding existing scenes, and like it's kind of just, it's a pain in the butt.
That's like,
but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's like a major editing project. Like that's what I'm thinking in my mind. Like you're just adding, changing, just yeah.
Yeah. So
That's hard.
Talking about books that are a slog. I love this story and I'm having a blast, but like it's hard to be like, how do I bridge this with this? And I have to add another scene. And
yeah.
It's kind of, like I said, if you think about writing a story, if you're writing a novella, make sure you don't end up wanting to write it into a larger book.
Yeah, that is
it hurts your brain.
Yep. Yep. I know exactly how that is. Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing that I have out, I actually mentioned earlier, it took me a very long time to get published, and I wrote a lot of books that didn't get published before I sold my first one. And within that was, I started a time travel series, which is it's the series of my heart. I love it more than anything I've ever written. And one of the good things that happened from all of my It's a Fabulous Life losing its publisher drama last year was that I got with an agent. And my agent actually has the first book in the time travel series out on submission right now.
Wow.
Which I'm very excited about. It's called A Sense of Time.
Okay.
And it's not a romance. Mm-hmm. But there is a romance in it. Mm-hmm. But the basic premise is that it follows a psychic with a secret government time travel agency.
Okay.
And they go around. So in this world, the time travel technology was in like secret trials, and the technology got stolen.
Ooh.
And so now there's like bad guys going around history, not like changing history. They're just like stealing things. Mm-hmm. Okay. And like kind of creating mischief, but not like altering the course of history.
Wow. This sounds like a great show, like a great, either like a movie or a show or something too.
Yes. From your mouth to Hollywood's ears.
There you go.
Now that the writer's strike is coming to an end, which yay, I'm so proud of them, right? for sticking up for their rights and everything they deserve. So yay them. And I'm hoping the same thing will happen for the SAG-AFTRA actors.
Yes. Yep. I think both of them were told that things are going to be okay. So I know for sure the Screen Actors Guild, but I don't know about the Writers Guild, but I don't know about the I haven't heard anything about the SAG-AFTRA yet. The
actors. So well, let's hope by the time this podcast releases, they will have reached an agreement too.
Everybody's good. Yes. Everybody's happy.
So hopefully once everybody's got much better deals and is not getting taken advantage of, that's actually like that's my long range goal, is like, how they always say like shoot big, dream big. Well, my dream big is that this time travel series will be a streaming TV series.
That's cool.
So I'm manifesting it into the world.
I immediately went there. Like when you were talking about it, I could see it.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's one of those things. Like as a writer, it's like this. When you write a book, it's like set up a certain way, and you can't like go into the side characters' stories too much. Mm-hmm. And I would just love to have a beautiful, diverse writer's room with people who could like write the side stories.
Yeah.
And then you can have their stories being told. And
fun.
Yeah, I have it all planned out in my head.
Okay.
So,
right. Good.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yes. There you go. It'll happen.
When it actually happens, then Anita will be like, she said on my podcast, it was happening.
I'll be like, hello. You did hear it here first. So yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for you. That's really cool. Very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. And do you want to tell our listeners about Out on the Ice?
I sure can.
All right. Yeah. I love this. Yeah.
My My other published books, it's in the Out on the Ice series. There are 3 books set in the women's hockey world. So they're all, there's a different central romance in each book. They're all sapphic romances. And then of course you get the fun thing of you get to see how the couples are doing in like the subsequent books. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so Out on the Ice is the first book. That's a Grumpy Sunshine romance, which is my favorite to write. It's a Fabulous Life is also a Grumpy Sunshine romance. I think most things I write are Grumpy Sunshine romances. And then the second book is Unexpected Goals. That has the dreaded Team USA and Team Canada women's hockey rivalry. Mm. Yes, and then the two love interests are now teammates on the same pro women's team. So that one's an enemies, 2 friends, 2 lovers. Okay. And then the third book is Calling the Shots, which is rival head coaches. And they had a fling back in their youthful days. Mm-hmm. And then one of them ghosted the other one. Ooh. And that's never really, Tierney, the one who got ghosted, she's never really forgiven mm-hmm. Regan for ghosting her. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, doesn't feel very good.
Yeah.
That's great.
And she lets her know it.
And that is called the Out on the Ice series, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, Kelly, do you have any parting words for our listeners today?
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing in the joy of sapphic romances. I'm assuming if you listen to this podcast that's your jam. So I know the authors greatly appreciate you reading your books, our books. And I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season this year.
Yes. And you can enhance your holiday season this year by reading It's a Fabulous Life by Kelly Farmer. Yes. Which is
when you say the title, you have to do like jazz hands, which Anita and I are on a Zoom call so she can see me doing it. Uh-huh. But, just imagine saying it's a fabulous life and, fabulous. Jazz hands, yes. Fabulous life.
Yeah. I don't think you can say fabulous without jazz hands. Yeah.
It's hard not to.
It is. Totally. Definitely. So,
because I say the name of this book a lot, and every time I do, I want to do the jazz hands.
So, all right, listeners, you can use your jazz hands to get online and purchase It's a Fabulous Life by Kelly Farmer. And you can check out Kelly's website, which is kellyfarmerauthor.com, and sign up for her newsletter, which is great. I receive it myself. It's awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And I also, I made it easy, one-stop shopping. There are links to my socials there, and also like buy links for the books and such. So
great.
So it's everything you need to know. You can see pictures of me doing theater and me wearing hockey equipment.
Awesome. Do you have one of you as from the
as Mrs. Cratchit?
Yes.
I don't. I should. I only trying to remember what's. I know there's one from Enchanted April, which is like my favorite show I was ever in. So I had to just use that one. Cool. I'm sure I do occasionally on social media. I post like a theater throwback Thursday where I post pictures from plays I'm in.
Oh, fun.
So I'll have to throw up a Mrs. Cratchit one.
Yes, definitely. I'll be on the lookout for it for sure.
Nice.
So, all right. Well, that is all the time we have for today, folks. I'm Anita Kelly, and thanks for joining Let's Talk About Books, baby. And thank you to Kelly Farmer for joining us today. Until next time, may your journey be lighthearted, peace be plenty, and be safe, folks.